So when I actually got started and more about my business, I started the business in 2023, more as like a part-time gig, and then actually grew the business into a full-time gig, March of 2025. Mostly seeing runners, one-on-one for physical therapy, running related issues. And then I started getting more of like the CrossFitters, and then they would tell their friends. And now I see power lifters, and now I'm trying to learn a little bit of more the triathlete as well. So it's since March, it's grown exponentially. But I love working with athletes from the ages of 12 all the way to my oldest patient being 95 right now. So the leads would often call me, some by email. I wanted to set up a system where it was seamless. So call me at this number or go online and book an appointment. And I'd say about 25% of people would just go online and book an appointment. They could read my website, they could just book according to whatever is convenient for them. But I also have a fair number of older patients who like to call, like to talk to the physical therapist, like to have questions answered. So yeah, I was spending a lot of time answering phone calls and calling people back. And with physical therapy, it's tough because it's one-on-one. I'm with the patient. I can't go and leave it and go answer a phone. So often I'd be taking messages or lose out on leads that, or I'd call them back and, hey, I saw you called. So it was like this awkward conversation that I know they called me, but how do I approach that? How do I, break that barrier? So Smith AI was, I think I saw it on an Instagram ad. So at first I was considering hiring a virtual receptionist. So I had a couple calls with them, and a few companies were reaching out about that, and that was kind of the recommendation. So a lot of people in my position, they end up going with the virtual receptionist for all sorts of things: insurance, management, marketing, receptionist calling, answering phone calls, calling people back. So that was kind of where I was heading. And then Smith AI popped up because I was more interested because it integrated with Jane app, and which is a program I use a lot too, for scheduling, documentation, email contacts. So yeah, and then I tried it out. So, once you try out Smith AI and talking to a AI agent, which sounds so real and so familiar and like very easy to understand, I was like, sold. This makes total sense for me. Common calls I would often get is, hey, do I take insurance? Which I do, and certain insurances, not all insurances. So I could relay that out in an FAQ for Smith AI, and that was like an easy question to answer. Do I need a referral? In Maryland, we're lucky where PTs don't need a referral, but some insurances might. So how do you relay that information really quickly when you're just looking to try to get people scheduled? Another question I'd often get is like, when's your next opening, or how do I get booked? And what Smith does really often is, and this is how I get a lot of my leads, they'll call in, they'll leave a message, why they need PT, who referred them, a good contact number, and email, and then they'll text them a link to my website. They'll go on the website and see that they can schedule online, and it's just beautiful. I don't even have to do anything. So I'm often bombarded with spam calls for insurance purposes, meaning like they want to try to sell me something, marketing purposes, virtual receptionist purposes. So the fact that Smith AI can filter that out, it's amazing. It's just another service I was considering paying for that already is included. I use that calling the lead qualification question a number of ways. So first, I always like to have my patients have a goal. It's one thing when you come to physical therapy with just knee pain. It's a totally different mindset. I want to get rid of my knee pain. Well, what is it about that knee pain that's preventing you from doing something? So if I can get that lead to say, hey, knee pain equates playing with my grandkids, great. I want to play with my grandkids. So that becomes a much better conversation than, hey, what's causing the knee pain? What is it? How does it feel? Is it pain, sharp, achy? I mean, that's fine. Any physical therapist can do that. But when you talk to a patient, a lead that says, I can't pick up my grandkid because my knee hurts, and I like to get on the floor with them because they're only 2 years old. Well, yeah, that is something that we can really work with, and then they get to connect me with playing with their grandkids. So being able to personalize their goal to the exercise that we're putting on, the plan that we're developing, it starts right there, like at that first phone call. And if that can start from the very beginning with the receptionist, it just flows really nicely into their visit. The big feature, the thing that makes me feel really happy about Smith AI is when I see the phone call pop up on my phone, I'm really excited to read the email summary that's going to be sent to me. It flows really nicely. It's like Mr. John Smith called. He's having some problems with his left knee. He says his goal is to be able to go to Machu Picchu this January. He left his phone number, and this is the number to call him back. It's very naturally flowing, kind of like a email. It's very much kind of the same feeling I get when it's funny. When we're out with my friends, I'm like, yeah, call my number and just check it out, just see what you think. And so yeah, it's fun, and those are fun emails to get too when we're just out with friends and hey, call my Smith AI and see how that sounds. When I was considering hiring a virtual receptionist, like, yeah, that could have been very easily a real receptionist. So if I look at scaling it, well, yeah, I mean, this gives me some more options to hire another PT instead of having to have someone at the front desk. There are all sorts of ways for me to kind of scale as far as like getting another PT, maybe a tech, maybe another type of like maybe like a massage therapist. I imagine all that kind of being filtered through that same phone number. So instead of being just a PT practice, being more of a wellness practice. So one of the things I've been offering more recently is just infrared sauna sessions. So I have an infrared sauna with red light therapy. So that very easily can translate, hey, I just want to book a sauna session. And, I can imagine building out like, all right, here's some FAQs, here's some guidelines for it. This is how you book a sauna session. So, I think that's a very reasonable way to grow it. And what saved me is that now that I'm not, so the price for a virtual receptionist was going to be like 1,500 a month or something. With the cost savings that I have with Smith AI, well, that gives me more money to invest back into the business and grow it slower. One of the things that drove me to go solo is because I was managing a big clinic with 26 people, 18 which were other therapists, and having people under you is such a joy, but also a headache. I'd be on vacation and someone would be calling me something about somebody doing something, and hey, it just wasn't. I was burnt out basically. I was kind of done managing people, so I'm happy to grow slow, and using AI and Smith AI any way I can to keep it manageable. At first, I didn't really need too much support. But as like problems and issues popped up, the support staff has been fantastic. So even with directions, so I would get phone calls asking for directions, and people obviously get really frustrated by not being able to talk to a real person about exactly where my office is. So I was able to kind of write out a template that worked really well for anyone looking for specific directions about where to park, where exactly is my location. Uh, and I didn't really have to even initiate it. It just became a one or two time type thing, and I would just write some feedback on that specific person that was calling 5 times for looking for the same directions. And then the next day, yeah, I got all this kind of tech support where they were calling to make sure that it was working correctly. And I was like, what's going on? And it was all behind the scenes. I didn't really have to get involved. And all of a sudden now I have an FAQ on exactly where directions are. So it's been fantastic. The team's been very proactive, so intuitive, so easy, and that's the way it should work, right? Some of the things and myths and concerns that I had with going with a virtual receptionist or AI receptionist was that it would just sound robotic. That, for instance, you call Comcast and they're like, please hold, we're concerned, we care about your call. I mean, they don't really care, right? Like it just doesn't sound authentic. It doesn't sound like, you're a customer. It just sounds like you're just another number. And so when I considered Smith AI for it, just doing the call, setting it up, I was like, asking it questions. It's very intuitive. It flows very naturally. It sounds like you're talking to a real person. And there's empathy there, So I really, that's what sold me. And being a sole practitioner, like, you live and die by your referrals. And if it's not a good experience, then are they going to call me back? The whole anxiety of trying to pick up the phone when someone calls while working a patient just went away. And knowing that I'm going to get an email message from someone with a summary that I can call back was great. And if they don't leave a message, that's fine. That is also a really nice filter where, hey, maybe they're not serious enough to start with me. And when they do leave a message, yeah, I'm going to call them back within 24 hours. And I've always, I think I have a 100% success rate so far with booking those calls. I would 100% recommend this service for any solo practitioner, chiropractor, massage therapist. Everyone's kind of leading towards booking online and being able to book things virtually, but people still like calling you. And, for the fact that the features that it filters out all the spam calls, all the marketing calls, the fact that it, sounds authentic, it connects you and it becomes the voice of your business. I wish I had done it much earlier, especially when I was running those Facebook ads. That would have been just another filter to kind of get the leads that I want, not necessarily the leads that are just kind of testing the waters. Because time is it's limited. You only have so many resources, and time and money are two resources that you kind of lack when you first start a business. Um, and I think Smith AI has definitely saved me on both ends. So I'm happy with it. I was really impressed with how quickly the changes were made, especially for people just asking directions and how direct like that feedback is. When you rate a call and that feedback and that in only a short time. So I've only been using it since June, so almost 6 months now. I feel like the service has gotten better with the live answering, with the ability to kind of connect to Calendly. So I'm looking forward to continuing to building with AI and watching it grow as well.